The day they handed me the pink slip, the world seemed to tilt on its axis. I was standing in the sterile hallway of the National Agritech Institute, the fluorescent lights buzzing like a hive of angry bees, when Dr. Marquez slid the envelope across the desk and said, "Your ideas are too radical for us, Maya. We're letting you go." My hands trembled, the paper felt like a thin veil over a burning furnace. In that instant, the echo of my own name turned into a chorus of my family's laughter back home. "You'll never make a living growing lettuce on a rooftop, you're an embarrassment." The humiliation hit me harder than any lab failure could have. I walked out with my badge clipped to my coat, the weight of their scorn pressing against my chest, and a single stubborn seed of resolve lodged in my gut. I left the city that night with a backpack, a notebook full of sketches, and a battered laptop that still held the code for my hydroponic prototype. The train rattled through miles of concrete, each clack a reminder that I was abandoning the safety of a prestigious title for a dream everyone called a concrete fantasy. My mother's voice still rang in my ears. "You're chasing clouds, Maya. Come back and get a real job." I could have turned around, could have taken a corporate job that paid the bills, but the sting of that pink slip had already ignited something fierce inside me. I was determined to prove that the soil beneath our streets could feed a city, that the abandoned warehouses and vacant lots could become gardens of hope. I set up my first lab in an empty storefront on 12th Street, the windows cracked, the paint peeling. I was alone, except for a few curious pigeons that perched on the broken sill. I spent sleepless nights soldering sensors, calibrating LED spectrums, and testing seed varieties that could survive the harsh microclimates of an urban canyon. Neighbors would peek through their curtains and mutter, "There goes the crazy girl again talking to plants in a junkyard." Their ridicule was a constant hum, but each snide comment fed my obsession. I remembered my father's words. "If you're going to fail, at least fail spectacularly." I chose spectacular. I started small, micro-leaf lettuce in reclaimed shipping containers, basil thriving under recycled rainwater, tomatoes that curled around steel beams like vines on a skyscraper. The first harvest was a modest handful of greens, but when I handed a crisp leaf to a local food bank volunteer, their eyes widened. "This is fresh," they whispered, "and it's grown right here in the middle of the city." That moment cracked the armor of doubt. I began documenting every success, posting videos of seedlings pushing through concrete cracks, and soon a modest following grew. A community garden collective reached out, offering a derelict lot on the east side of town. I accepted and the real work began. The lot was a wasteland of broken bricks, rusted metal, and graffiti that read "No Hope." I cleared the debris, laid drip irrigation lines made from reclaimed hoses, and installed solar panels salvaged from an old warehouse roof. The first week, a storm flooded the site, washing away half the seedlings. I stood in the mud, drenched, feeling the familiar sting of failure, but I remembered the pink slip, the family's laughter, and I refused to let the soil swallow my dream. I replanted, this time with hardy kale and dwarf wheat that could survive both drought and deluge. Weeks turned into months and the lot transformed. Green shoots broke through the cracked pavement, and the scent of fresh earth rose above the city's exhaust. The breakthrough came when a local restaurant chain visited the garden looking for a story. They filmed a segment on my rooftop farm, and within days the footage went viral. Investors called, asking how they could help scale the model. Within a year, I was overseeing a network of 10 urban farms across the city, feeding thousands of families, reducing food miles by 80%, and earning the city's Innovator of the Year award. The headlines no longer mocked me. They celebrated me. I had turned the ridiculous into a blueprint for urban resilience. 3 years later, I received an invitation that made my heart race, a family reunion at the old house on Willow Lane. My mother had called, her voice softer than I remembered. "Maya, we'd like you to come home for dinner. We have something to show you." The invitation felt like a test, a final checkpoint in the ledger of karma. I arrived at the house, the same porch swing creaking under the weight of memories. My mother greeted me with a tentative hug, my father's eyes flickering with a mix of pride and lingering doubt. The dining table was set with dishes my sister had prepared, comfort food that smelled like home. As we ate, the conversation drifted, and then my uncle, the one who had always scoffed at my concrete fantasies, cleared his throat. "Your sister's been busy," he said, gesturing toward the window where a large screen was set up. "We thought you'd like to see what she's really doing." The screen flickered to life, displaying aerial footage of the city. The camera swooped over rooftops, over the abandoned lot, now a lush tapestry of greens and blooming flowers. The voiceover narrated, Maya Patel's Urban Harvest Initiative has turned 15 vacant sites into thriving farms, providing fresh produce to over 200,000 residents, cutting food insecurity by 40% and creating 300 jobs. My heart pounded. The room fell silent, my mother's eyes welled up and she whispered, I never believed. My father's jaw tightened, then softened. My sister, who had once teased me for talking to plants, reached out and squeezed my hand. Then the screen cut to a live feed of the East Side garden, where a group of children were planting seedlings under my guidance. One of the kids, a shy boy with a chipped tooth, looked directly into the camera and said, My mom says we're eating food that grew right here. It's like magic. The camera panned to a table laden with fresh salads, tomatoes, and herbs, all harvested that morning. The audience in the room could almost taste the crispness. My uncle, who had once declared my dream a joke, finally spoke, his voice low but steady. Maya, I was wrong. You've given this city something we thought we'd never have. I'm sorry for the years we doubted you. The apology hung in the air, heavy with years of unspoken regret. I stood, feeling the weight of their gazes, and said, I never left because I wanted to prove you wrong. I left because I believed there was a way to feed our community, to turn the cracks in our streets into life. I'm grateful for the push that forced me to find my own path. And I'm grateful that you're here now, seeing what we can achieve together. The room erupted, not in applause but in a quiet collective sigh of relief and awe. My mother, tears streaming down her cheeks, placed a hand over my heart and whispered, You are not an embarrassment, Maya. You are our hope. Standing there, surrounded by the people who once doubted me, I felt the final piece of the ledger click into place. The ridicule, the dismissal, the endless nights of solitary work, all of it had forged a purpose stronger than any criticism. I had turned barren concrete into nourishment, and in doing so I had healed a part of myself that had been bruised by family scorn. The night ended with a toast, freshly squeezed carrot apple juice from the garden's own harvest, raised by my father, who said, To the woman who grew a city's future from the ground up. Laughter filled the room, warm and genuine, a sound that drowned out the memory of past mockery. As I walked back to my car, the city lights reflected off the glass of the skyscrapers, and I realized that the true triumph wasn't just the farms or the awards. It was the quiet moment when those who once called my dream ridiculous finally saw the fruit of that vision and felt the weight of their own doubts lift. Karma had balanced the ledger not with vengeance but with a shared harvest of hope. I drove away, the hum of the engine matching the rhythm of my heart, steady, purposeful, and full of gratitude. The city stretched before me, a canvas of possibilities, and I knew that wherever I planted a seed, whether in soil or in a skeptical mind, the potential for growth was always there, waiting for someone brave enough to nurture it.